Basim ibn Ishaq is a unique character in the Assassin's Creed franchise, specifically when his character was cameoed in Valhalla, and of course his entire backstory explored in Mirage. However, towards the ending of Mirage, Basim goes through it all, with the player witnessing a really complex and frustrating ending because there's not a lot explaining what really happens. There's a lot of through the lines thinking and connecting of dots, and if you don't have prior knowledge of the franchise or what's happened in the history of Assassin's Creed, you're really going to struggle to understand what the hell is going on in this game. Today, however, I want to explain what happened to Basim at the end of Assassin's Creed Mirage, with a video coming out on Nihal probably tomorrow or the following day, so keep an eye out for that one. The last few days we've uploaded a few videos, one of them being our story explain video that we typically upload on the channel, along with explaining the ending which went up yesterday as of this video going out. So if you're interested in those, I'll leave them linked below the like button and on screen right now for you guys to go and check them out. They're definitely worth a listen. However, as always, leave your thoughts and opinions down below in the comments, and why don't you go on to leave a like on today's video. It would be, one, very much appreciated, and two, it will show that you guys love the lore and story videos on the channel, and want to hit the subscribe button as well to stay up to date with every time a video does go live. And if you love story and lore content, this is the place for you. But let's dive straight in. The story of Assassin's Creed Mirage is focused around Basim ibn Ishaq, a common thief who lived on the streets of Baghdad. His goal was to become more than what he was already, to help as many people as he could, his friends in particular, but also the people of Baghdad. Not to have them starve or to steal food, to be harassed by guards, and to live a simple life. But Basim was special. We knew this throughout the game, and so did his peers. At the very beginning of the game, William Miles is heard speaking during a cutscene, stating that Basim is someone that's lived many lives, someone that went through a tough lesson and came out on top of the end. This of course doesn't really start to make too much sense until you progress further on into the game, where you see the person inside the Yggdrasil, and that Nihal throughout the entirety of that game was completely within Basim's imagination the whole time, for a good reason which we'll come to in a second. We also see a hologram of a person at the beginning of the game, and also the ending of the hologram towards the end of the game, and a person being pulled out of this machine that we believe is the Yggdrasil, and the guard that pulled him out, well, that was the Jinni haunting Basim throughout the entirety of the story. So in order to understand this a little bit more, we need to go way back. So strap in guys, it's going to be a bit of a history lesson. There was something long ago called the Great Catastrophe. This was something that wiped out humanity and a race called the Isu. The Isu were an ancient race that were extremely advanced, and they built something called the Yggdrasil, an ancient supercomputer, as some sort of solution to try and survive the Great Catastrophe. One of the Isu gods, Loki, locked himself away in the Yggdrasil to survive the Great Catastrophe. This is why we see part of Basim in the Yggdrasil when he opens the chamber, or we see Niall in there, because Niall is represented as Loki, the god that locked herself away in the Yggdrasil to survive. Part of Loki remained in the Yggdrasil, the other part, of course, was Basim, was out in the world of Baghdad. This is the reason why at the very end of the game, we can see that Basim and Niall's soul essentially merge into one, his ego not recognising him towards the end of the game as well, because he was not only Basim, he was a different person with a different soul, essentially. And that's exactly why the eagle swiped under his eye, because they didn't know who he was, he's a different person. Mirage is the story of Basim's soul fully reincarnating Isu Loki. This then leads on to some of the following games, like Assassin's Creed Valhalla, where him, Eivor and Sigurd get into some conflict. And this is where we actually learn that Basim is a reincarnation of Loki, and that Sigurd and Eivor are reincarnations of Tyr and Odin. There are two theories floating around that I've seen in my comments section quite regularly, one of them being that the person pulling Basim, or this part of Loki, out of the Yggdrasil is in fact Eivor from Valhalla, and this is the person that's torturing him. I don't believe this one's the case, because from a timeline perspective, it's in the future, right? Surely this hologram would show a piece of information that's already happened. So that, for me, is a complete cross out, but let me know in the comments down below if you think there's some weight to that theory. The one that I'm going more towards is there's another theory that because Basim is a reincarnation of Loki, that Loki was inside the Yggdrasil and he was being tortured by a guard potentially sent by Odin. So he was pulled out of the Yggdrasil, and that is where he was killed by this guard. And since then, this guard, aka that killed Loki, has been haunting Loki ever since. So a part of him is always going to be in the Yggdrasil. Maybe he was put back in the Yggdrasil after the guard killed him, and from that point onwards, this guard has always haunted his dreams, and even the reincarnations of him, aka Basim, with the Jinni, also haunting his dreams as well. This would make a little bit more sense because it's already happened, and it's then affecting the future of Basim, aka the reincarnation of Loki. If all of this makes sense, I'm probably just blabbering on right now, but let me know your thoughts down below on which one you make sense, or if you guys have a completely different theory. A brief overview of the plot of Assassin's Creed Valhalla is this, just to give some context. Assassin's Creed Valhalla tells the story of Sigurd and Eivor, two Viking warriors who decide to leave Norway for England in search of a place to settle with their clan. Basim, who met Sigurd around 870 as he was operating the Hidden Ones in Constantinople, decides to follow them, accompanied by his young apprentice Hytham. As Sigurd and Basim travel across those new kingdoms, investigating mysteries from an ancient and long-gone civilization, aka the Isu, Basim uncovers a truth that he suspected about Sigurd and Eivor. In fact, Sigurd happens to be the reincarnation of Norse god Tyr, and Eivor of Odin, the Allfather. Valhalla's narrative also reveals the actual identity of Basim as the reincarnation of an ancient god, Loki. It all fits too nicely together, from linking Valhalla, then going back and then linking the dots to Mirage. But what happens to Basim at the end of the game? Well, as we've already said, Basim is a reincarnation of Loki. All of his soul, Nihal and Basim, are now merged to one. So after that point, well, Valhalla happens after that. Basim will continue on with the Hidden Ones through Baghdad. He will complete his missions, and there's a couple of years between him staying in Baghdad, leaving Baghdad, and travelling all the way to the United Kingdom, which is of course where he meets Sigurd and Eivor, and then the rest is history. But guys, that is it for today's video. There isn't really too much else to add. The only thing that you can really theorize on is what the hell happened with the Yggdrasil or the machine, what happened to Loki with him being a reincarnation of Basim and Nihal, all of those things. It's the most theorized part of this game, and the rest of it really goes directly into Valhalla, where it explains why everything is happening, and everything starts to make more sense when you take into a fact that the Valhalla story completes the set of Basim and things like that. Mirage is mostly just talking about the backstory and filling in that gap of Basim, because you got to remember, Basim was just there in Valhalla. There was no previous game with Basim in or anything like that. He was a brand new character in Valhalla, and he was a massive part of the story. So they've made Mirage to fill in Basim's backstory to help fuel the fire that what was Valhalla towards the end. So that's the entire reason for it. But guys, that is going to be it for today's video. Assassin's Creed has so much lore. I could literally be here for an hour and a half just talking about everything that goes on in the universe, but of course that wouldn't be Assassin's Creed Mirage. So if you guys want any more Assassin's Creed videos going into detail around different topics of the lore, potentially even talking about the entirety of the Valhalla story, then please let me know down below in the comments. But leave a like if you have enjoyed, subscribe if you guys are brand new, and we'll see you guys next time.